Table stakes marketing has no ROI to it. You just have to do it. You have to have a website. It needs to get updated regularly. It needs to speak to your ICP. You probably need to have something going on social in this day and age. And just having a static social is bad for your brand. And there are a variety of other things that you need to do that are table stakes marketing.
Today, we are talking about one of the most challenging things in marketing, which is attribution. This is a question we get all the time. How can we prove the ROI of a lot of things? But specifically today, we want to talk about content. And first, just want to talk about why this is so challenging. Like, in your opinion, why is measuring a direct ROI so challenging?
Yeah, well, I'm going to start with caveat and disclaimer that we are talking about companies that have small, scrappy marketing teams. And, to me, one of the biggest challenges with these small, scrappy environments is that attribution is incredibly challenging. It is something that we talk to our clients about a lot where, they don't have the money for, if on the ABM side, like a 6 cents, or on the attribution side, like a hockey stack. In many cases, our clients are trying to pay a monthly retainer that is the price or less in many cases on a monthly basis than an attribution tool. And so there's this question that's like, hey, we don't have the money. We barely have the money to have an in-house marketing team. If we barely have the money for an in-house marketing team, we definitely barely have the money for an agency. And then, oh, by the way, our in-house marketing team and our agency, we need you to give direct attribution to every single task, every single action that you take as, an in-house organization and an outsourced or, agency type setup. So I would say, financially speaking, I'll start there. The biggest challenge for attribution is the financial flexibility to be able to afford attribution. I don't know if that answers your question, but for me, I think it's different if you're talking about organizations that have 20, 30, 50 person marketing teams, multiple departments within marketing, and have the ability to buy enterprise tools. That's different. And I don't think that's who this podcast is for, and that's not who we work with. So I'll start there. Probably the biggest challenge, and I'm going to keep this very simple for a reason, and the reason is because I hope that people out there who could, who are the people that we speak to on a daily basis, who would be listening to this, that they understand. Financially speaking, direct attribution in many cases is not going to be within the budget, and therefore you have to get very scrappy in the way that you build your reporting, which is what we do all the time, using Zaps and Make.com and finding ways for these tools to be able to speak to each other so that you can get the best possible attribution in a scrappy way, which I'm sure we'll get into today.
Yeah, 100%. I think you hit it right on the nose, though. If you had a big enough budget, you could probably solve this problem. But I think the bigger problem we see with at least most of the people we work with is they're doing very minimal things when it comes to marketing. They're really trying to focus on maybe bottom of the funnel tactics, whether that's ads or other things like that. And they're frustrated when they're not seeing leads come in because we're neglecting the whole journey of people discovering who you are. So let's maybe...
And I want to just add one thing to that. So I've been a business owner almost 10 years now. And Baylee, who's leading the show, runs a lot of our marketing. And I think it's important to point out, yes, I sell marketing services, but I think that they are in silos. I'm an entrepreneur, and then I own a marketing agency. So I do marketing for my businesses, what I sell aside. And I think one of the things that other business owners, because we sell to a lot of founders with founder-led sales, or they're a sales-led organization, and they're thinking about doing marketing. And there is this belief that every single marketing action should have ROI. And I would caution, and I I regularly push against, that is not true. There are things you need to do for your business that are no different than having an HR, a benefits provider. You don't have ROI on your health insurance that you give to your employees. You don't have ROI in most cases on your accountant. I mean, maybe if your accountant is some sort of amazing accountant, they find ways to, work with finance and save you money. But the reality is they're doing something for your business. There is not an ROI on managing your website. There's minimal ROI on, running organic social. If you do it really well, maybe you generate some leads. But the reality is you're trying to look like a vibrant business in 2025, 2026. You're not going to generate ROI on that. I don't know how you would prove it. Maybe you can, that somebody came in and they are talking to sales and they say, I looked on your LinkedIn feed and it looks like you guys are doing a lot of good things. Then you could say, that enabled sales by having that. But there's not going to be true ROI. You didn't close that deal. You probably didn't even get the lead based on that. Most people are not seeing your company LinkedIn page and then submitting a contact form on your website. Doesn't change that it's valuable and that you should be doing it. And I see that more as a necessary expense for a business that will have no ROI. We call it table stakes marketing. Table stakes marketing has no ROI to it. You just have to do it. You have to have a website. It needs to get updated regularly. It needs to speak to your ICP. You probably need to have something going on social in this day and age, and just having a static social is bad for your brand. And there are a variety of other things that you need to do that are table stakes marketing. If it simply worked that you put in $1 and you got out $2, there is no end to what you would spend on marketing. You would spend every dollar that you have as a business on marketing, that would be 100% ROI on everything you do.
Yeah.
It just does not work that way. And I think that we talk about it. We have two different types of client, right? We have a strategic client where we define what the ROI is going into the engagement. And then we have tactical clients where it's not always table stakes marketing. A lot of times it's enablement for sales. It's developing ebooks. It's creating podcasts, what have you, but it's tactical. We do not look at the ROI of it. It is, they are spending money to get things that they need for their business. And so I think there's two different ways to look at, the way you're spending money on marketing. And the reality is you should be spending money on marketing. You should be spending 5 to 10% of your revenue on marketing. And if you're not, then at some point your competitors are going to be out there, be more vibrant in the marketplace, and you're going to lose unless you are delivering such a profound service that people are out there talking about you so much and you don't have to do anything. And I would say that the business, the sheer amount of businesses doing that is very small.
Yeah. I like how you talk about how it's table stakes marketing. If someone's making a decision between company A and company B, I mean, there's very few businesses out there where they're the only person doing what they're doing. Yep. People are going to be comparing, and if your competitor has stuff on LinkedIn, even if it's not getting any traction, and they have new blog posts and new things, like we get people, you told me just a couple weeks, they saw our YouTube, and we regularly post new stuff on there. They maybe didn't even watch one of our videos, but they saw that we had it. And it's just those kind of things add up and show that you're reliable, that you're trustworthy, and that you can't trade for anything else.
Yeah, I mean, I hear it all the time. And it's funny because we had recently a client who said they saw our YouTube and they were like, you guys aren't getting many views at all. Like, why would you even bother to do this? And I had another prospect, and it was, first off, that's a fair question. The reality is we're using these for sales enablement materials. We're using them to go out there and, have our faces and really do what we preach to the world. And there are so many benefits to it. And we could do a whole, and we have do episodes on podcasting and the value of video series and all that. We're not going to do that today. But what I can say is conversely, I'm talking to a prospect and they say, I feel like I already know you. I was on your YouTube and I've seen you all over the place. I've heard you talk and blah, blah, blah. And then I even mentioned Baylee, they were asking about podcasting, and they're like, oh, I know her. I saw, and so like that stuff to me is where the value is. And I don't ever ask where the ROI is, because we have to do that as a business. You have to have social channels. You have to be putting out content. Don't ever look at that in terms of like, how many leads did that generate? What we are looking at, and Baylee, you know, we meet once a week to go over marketers and demands marketing that we're doing. And, you know, we have identified metrics as an organization that we look at, which is, for us, it's net new opportunities. And that's where our ROI is. And then we are trying to build a holistic strategy, which includes content, paid. We're going to be rolling out a new ABM program for one of our business units, but rolling it all together versus trying to isolate channels and say, what did that channel do for me? Because Baylee, if I ask you that, I don't know what your answer is going to be. I'm not going to put you on the spot here because I don't want to even entertain it. But if I was like, what is the ROI for tech qualified? I don't even know that we can give an answer, because we were also going to use this very episode as not only sales enablement material, so I do our sales. I'm going to go out there. I'm going to use this episode to go talk to prospective buyers and say, hey, you know, when you're talking about attribution, you can actually hear me talk about attribution when it comes to content. But we'll also use it as enablement materials for our clients. When our clients come to us and they're like, hey, you know, my boss is asking me about, you know, attribution. And I'll be like, you know, you're spending $5,000, $6,000 a month with us as an organization. The tool that you're looking into will be double. If you want true direct attribution as best as you can get it in late 2025, early 2026, you're going to spend double what you're spending on your entire agency. So, and that's not even including, you know, paid media spend and things like that. So I don't know. Instead, we probably need to build out the best possible scrappy version of that, which we do all the time, using, you know, de-anonymization tools like factors or RB2B, reporting in, showing signals, doing lead scoring, being able to say, hey, you know, this person visited this blog post, they came from this place first, and here's what we're seeing. There are ways to do attribution. So it's really, you know, what can you build? What can you buy? And then how much do you care about every single thing? And if you balance those three things, you probably come out with what type of attribution you need to be doing and how you can justify your marketing spend.
I think that makes a lot of sense. And sometimes for newer businesses or businesses who haven't done a lot of content, it can take time for those pieces of content to get traction as well. It can take time to start getting a following or to start getting website visitors. I mean, we go back to, again, it's table stakes. You kind of need to do it to at least get started and build trust. But I think over time, it does have a payoff. Like
I get it. Yeah. One of our biggest lead sources is so we acquired New North in 2023. I think this ABM article was written in like 2019 or something, and we get tons of leads from it. I'm guessing at that time it was table stakes marketing. New North was like, we need to be writing and making sure that, you know, we're trying to rank in SEO. And who knows, there's this new thing called ABM that people are doing. Probably wasn't that new in 2019, but there was probably still open space to be able to write and rank for ABM. I get leads. I got a lead this morning from that article. So, you know, I think that, but that article was written 6 years ago. So I don't like. There's certainly a balancing act there.
Yeah, can definitely take time. What are some alternative metrics that B2B companies could use to evaluate? If we're not trying to put a direct ROI on content, what are some things that they could maybe look at to see how things are performing?
I'm going to flip that question to you. What do? You talk to way more people about content and what they should be looking at for measurables than I do. And for the audience, I mean, Baylee manages 90% of our content only clients. in an account director capacity. She has strategists who report to her, but she is, the boss of those campaigns. I kick that question back to you. I don't think that your clients, for the most part, are here because I said I'm the one who sold them the engagement. I don't think that they're here for leads. The people who are here for leads specifically, because we get a lot of that. And, I say it tongue in cheek, but people have been trying to push against the MQL crowd for almost a decade, and good luck. It's never going away. People want leads. And so we have like kind of two buckets of clients that come to us, the people who I get the contact from all the time. Need more leads. We're looking for a new method of outreach to generate new leads. Boom. We get that all the time. And so there are those people, and those people, we go through a process to figure out, what does that mean? What does more leads mean? How are we going to do it? What approaches are we going to take? How are we going to track it, et cetera? Then there are other people who come to us and they want us to do things. They want us to do a podcast. They want us to write blog posts. They want us to do video content, et cetera. And so they're not holding our feet to the fire on leads.
Yeah.
However, they definitely ask us questions of like, how's it performing? How do you think we're doing? What are you seeing, et cetera? And that's where I'll kick it to you, Baylee, is like, how do you respond to those questions? So I think you do a really good job of justifying, because a lot of what we do is helping and this is great for the audience, a lot of what we do is helping our client. And when I say our client, I'm not talking about the company. I'm talking about like the person at that company. They selfishly, just because I think that it's true, I think that the clients you work with, Baylee, really enjoy working with you, and they're constantly trying to justify, like, how can I continue to convince my leadership that I need to keep working with Baylee? And so then you come back and you're like, here you go, client. Here are like 5 metrics, 3 metrics, 1 metric that you should bring up the chain that says what you're spending is good. It's generating not results on like the net new opportunities because you have a podcast. I'll stop there. What are some of the approaches that you take?
A lot of it depends on the content we're creating. So like the metrics we would look at for a podcast is very different than what we would look at if we were doing blog posts or ebooks. But overall, the basis is I like to look at trends. How is it performing compared this month to last month to the month you started versus now? And just seeing overall a progression that we're seeing improvements. Like if I'm looking at a web page, I want to see how much time are people spending on your website, specifically content pages, because that's an indication that people are reading it and it's valuable. They're not bouncing off as soon as they see it. And then just number of listeners and users. But I think time, like listening to a podcast, is super valuable. Even if you only have 3 people, but if they listen to 30 minutes, wow, like that is a lot of people who are engaging with your content. And I think that is way more valuable than getting 100 people that just bounced on a page.
Yeah. And I look at that the same on the side when people come to us for new leads and opportunities. We talk to them about what their business is currently doing. Like how many net new opportunities are coming in right now? Okay, if that doubled, would you be happy? If that went up by 10%, would you be happy? Like what are you looking for? And then how much does it matter to really say this channel generated it, or our marketing is getting better as an organization and we are seeing more leads and opportunities come through, a variety of places, because people are not just seeing an ad and filling out a form. Those days are done. People have the ability to go to ChatGPT, to, go to friends, to use LinkedIn and social. The odds of you just having an ad and they see it and they click it and then they submit a contact form and they eventually buy from you. And I'm talking this audience is in many cases selling. I talked to somebody yesterday and they're selling physical technology sonar into boat manufacturers. You're just not going to get somebody, and these are mid 6-figure deals you're just not going to sell those like because somebody saw an ad and they're like, you know what? Do you know any boat companies, Baylee? You're
Like Yamaha.
There we go. Perfect. Yamaha. You got the great Salt Lake out there. I'm sure you got some boats. Some person in a manufacturing plant at Yamaha isn't going to see that ad, click it, set up a meeting and say, hey, you know what? We do want to invest in, we do want to bring on this sonar onto our boats. In most cases, what you're going to see is that person is going to be hit with ads over time. They may go read an article, see the value of it, talk to some internal shareholders, and then they're going to reach out, and they could reach out completely organic. Like they could never click an ad. They could do research on ChatGPT. They see your ads, right? They're going through, they see all your ads on LinkedIn, and then they see them on, retargeting ads on ESPN.com and CNN, and they see you all around. And then, they go on to ChatGPT and they're like, hey, I've been looking into this new technology. What can you tell me about this company? Blah, blah, blah. So you never even get them to visit your website, but they've seen you around. And then they go to their internal stakeholders and they're like, hey, have you guys heard of this company? I've been seeing stuff about them. It's actually pretty interesting. And then the CEO's like, yeah, actually, I saw them at an event recently and, had a conversation with actually one of their shareholders over there or stakeholders over there. And then he says, set up a meeting with them. And so you've seen ads, you've talked to ChatGPT that was pulling stuff from an article from their website. And then they fill out a form and they say, in that form, they say event as the way that they heard about you.
Yeah.
No direct attribution, impossible. And so that's why in many cases, I like to have conversations with people when we're talking about ROI, about if you're spending this money, what sort of uptick are you expecting as a business? Can we look at both, right? We'll try to directly attribute as much as we can to actions that we're taking. Mm-hmm. But also, if you spend X amount of money with us and we see an uptick in Y, as an organization, is that also a win? And so, it is a challenging time for attribution because people can get information from so many places. They don't have to go to your website and read an article about you that you educate them on. In many cases, they're just going to ChatGPT to go get their education.
Yeah.
They're never going to read your blog post. Now, that's a whole different conversation. We could talk about SEO AI, but it's a different conversation. So, I think it's very challenging to justify ROI. It's even more challenging, this conversation's around content. It's even more challenging to justify it around, long-term initiatives that you have to do, and they're borderline table stakes versus, actually generating results. But it's not to say that they won't. It's just, where's your head on what you're trying to do? And, I talked to somebody again, and these are all different people I talk to. Is Baylee's doing such a good job on the marketing side. I have so many conversations and new opportunities. But I talked to somebody the other day, he's like, he's looking for net new opportunities. And he talked to an SEO company and they're saying you'll get new opportunities in 12 to 15 months. That's probably a bad fit for him. Probably shouldn't be looking into SEO right now. So it all is just dependent on what outcomes are you looking for? Where are you in your journey? Do you have a brand that you're proud of? Are you creating some semblance of ongoing content? Does your social look like you're alive in this, in the 2025, 2026? If yes, then, should we be looking into things to really ramp up what it is that you're doing and actually put some direct, some attempts at direct attribution and results? So it really just depends on the person.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much for hopping on this. Covered a lot of things about content ROI. Is there anything else you want to add?
No, I think that's it. I think at the end of the day, it's just, I think that there are a lot of companies out there that feel like every single dollar that they spend in marketing needs to generate a return on that. It comes from the finance side. It comes from sales-led organizations who are like, well, I'll hire the salesperson, I'll give them a quota, and they need to turn that into more money than I pay them. And while I don't disagree that, your business is there to make money, there are things you have to invest in as an organization. And so it's really taking a look in the mirror and saying, am I investing into marketing, which is the future of my company? If yes, great. Like, what can I do now to try and turn on that engine? And I think that, one of the things that we help people with is every phase of that engine, whether it is launching a brand from scratch and building a website and that brand for the first time. And someone's like, well, what's my new brand going to get me? I'm like, it is going to get you a business that's living online. And then there's the second phase, which is, okay, after that, then we need table stakes marketing. We need things that are going to keep your brand alive. We've built the brand. We've launched the site. Now we need to make sure that you're doing the things that are important, launching new pages, launching new collateral, putting some things on social. And then the next phase and having a content strategy. And then the next phase is, how do I generate returns on my investment? What should I be doing? And I think it's just really understanding where you are in those three buckets as an organization.
Amazing. Well, thanks again, Justin, for hopping on, and we'll talk later.
All right. Thanks, Baylee.
Bye.
Thanks for checking out Tech Qualified. This show is brought to you by New North, a marketing agency that helps turn your small, scrappy marketing team into a growth engine. To find out more about New North or check out more episodes of this show, go to newnorth.com/techqualified.